Hey there riders, Journo Kris here, and exciting news out of KTM with the RC390 updated for 2022 in a move that's sure to turn some heads and continues to be a fairly polarizing style. Personally, I love it, but I do have a penchant for the more futuristic designs, with younger audience for these machines definitely the aim, so I think KTM will be onto a winner. The new styling is RC16 MotoGP inspired, with the bodywork and subframe all updated for aerodynamics, as well as in directing heat away from the rider for better dispersion overall. In another boon for owners when it comes to DIY work on the bike, as well as helping keep servicing costs low, the new fairings feature less screws and fixtures, making for easier removal and replacement, while the knee area has been narrowed, with KTM promising a more intuitive feel on the bike and greater contact patch in this area. Fuel capacity has also been increased to 13.7 litres, marking a pretty significant capacity increase over the previous 9.5 or 10 litre tank depending on where you looked, and as a result a much greater range between fill-ups. The subframe and accompanying bodywork have also been slimmed down, and there's a nod to the more mundane everyday use so many of these bikes do, with the pillion seat now running thicker foam for much better comfort when two up. Other chassis updates include to the frame, which is all new, the wheels, and in suspension updates, with this RC390 update significantly more than just a restyle. On the RC390, new WP Apex split function open cartridge forks are fitted, with 30 clicks of compression found on the left fork and 30 clicks of rebound on the right fork. That's matched to a WP Apex shock, which offers both preload and 5-click rebound adjustability, making this the highest spec suspension offering in the category off the top of my head. The new wheels are an impressive change too, with a design running fewer spokes and open hubs to reduce weight, while also being stronger according to KTM. Impressively, the new wheels apparently shed 3.4 kilograms, which is a lot of weight, especially on unsprung items. Tyres will be a 110 by 70 17-inch front and a 150 by 60 17-inch rear. The class-leading brake setup also continues with a 4-piston Biber caliper on 320mm rotor on the front, while the rear runs a 230mm rear rotor and single-piston caliper, with the brake setup renowned for exceptional power and bite on these small and light machines. KTM are promising the system also saves almost a kilogram over the outgoing RC390 setup, while Supermoto ABS is standard. That's a Bosch 9.1 MP unit on the 390, which includes cornering ABS thanks to a lean angle sensor, with Supermoto ABS described as deactivated on the rear to allow slides and rear lockups, as well as disabling rear wheel lift detection. It's not specifically stated in the release, but I've got to assume that that's a switchable mode available. It's also worth noting both brake and clutch levers are adjustable. Powering the RC390 is the existing liquid-cooled single-cylinder 4-stroke, however there's been updates here too. A 40% larger airbox for starters, with the engine Euro 5 compliant and featuring completely new mapping according to KTM, with an up and down quickshifter now standard, in a pretty exciting addition, if one that plays into the track-centric updates. The exhaust is likewise all new, with stainless steel headers and an aluminium silencer, further savouring weight and being a pretty neat unit, although probably something a lot of people will replace with an aftermarket system. Also taking advantage of the IMU is the traction control system, which now features cornering functionality, with other standard features including a slipper clutch, TFT display, LED lights including DRLs, and an eye-catching new screen. Also updated are the rider seat and foldable mirrors, not to mention the tail light. Of note is the seat height increasing slightly from 820mm to 824mm in total, while it also looks like we're losing about 20mm of ground clearance despite no change in the claimed suspension travel, with 120 at the front and 150 at the rear in millimeters. For those on the short side of things, that taller seat height may be somewhat of a barrier to entry if they are looking for something that they can get 2 feet down flat on, but this is an exceptionally light machine as well, at 164 kilos fully fueled. Talking of weight, we saw a few mentions of kilograms of weight stripped off, with almost 4.5 kilos in total between the wheels and braking components. However, a dry weight isn't included for comparison, with the outgoing model claiming 149 kilos there. Instead, we're getting a fuel-less weight of 155 kilos, which would include oil and other fluids, which I'd have guessed at being around 2 or 2.5 kilos in total. However, the only figure I could find regarding wet weight on previous models was an independent figure of 165.3 kilos wet, fully fueled, and compare that to the 164 figure now with a larger fuel tank, and there's obviously been some give and take with the bike remaining exceptionally light and probably saving a little bit of weight overall. In fact, looking at the spec sheet, the KTM RC390 seems a clear leader in the class, even if we don't currently have pricing, with the release date quoted as March 2022. Hopefully that price isn't a huge departure from previous versions, which was competitive with the Ninja 400, while features like cornering ABS and traction control, not to mention the Supermoto ABS mode being big draw cards for the more safety orientated riders. Well, maybe not the Supermoto ABS, that's more of a Hoon draw card. Suspension likewise looks class leading, assuming we don't end up with a super stiff setup that makes for great discomfort on poorly surfaced roads, and of course the brakes have long been the most impressive from a sports bike perspective for quite a while. The styling, well, it is what it is. It's very KTM if you ask me, with a very noticeable angular aspect to most of the bodywork and design. Granted, that screen is a bit of a different approach, with the indicators integrated into the nose also quite interesting. All that aside, looks are always going to be subjective, so that is going to be an individual call. On the one hand, it looks to me like KTM have looked at that 300 to 400cc segment and basically asked themselves, what could riders possibly ask for if they were being really demanding, and then they've basically delivered that. Between general specs and the tech on offer, it's really hard to point out something you could even unreasonably ask for, except for perhaps a pit crew to help you at track days. But talking realistically, this seems like a bike that'll be the measuring stick for the competition and will push this segment forward, like the Yamaha R3 did with its Cheetah 321cc engine, followed by Kawasaki one-upping them with the Ninja 400. Even if you're not a fan of this particular bike, it's going to put pressure on everyone else to offer something to compete in that category, and unless we see the price skyrocket, it looks like cornering ABS and traction control, a quick shifter, TFT display, and more is going to become the norm going forward. Now sure, I'm happy to do without some of those features if it's heavily reflected in pricing, but if it's not heavily reflected in the pricing and the model is competitive with those without those features, well that makes for a very attractive option and package if you ask me. So let me know what you think of KTM's updated 2022 RC390. Are you a fan of the whole package, just the styling, just the chassis, or maybe just the electronics? Or will you wait to see the pricing to really decide what you think? As always, thanks for watching and stay safe out there.